Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak how we want to reach the young generation about the important issue of the nuclear threat through interactive storytelling. There is a quote by Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. According to this quote, we have developed a web documentary that aims to reach a young audience with interactive, true stories. Here's a preview trailer.
In 2021, the whole planet is watching an island in the Pacific Ocean as Japan welcomes the world to celebrate the Olympic Games in Tokyo. The nation yearns for applause for its reconstruction after the nuclear catastrophe 2011 in Fukushima. Just as Olympic competitions are also held in the prefecture of Fukushima, Japan downplays its nuclear past. Not for the first time. In 1964, the island hosted the Olympic Games and proudly showed the nations its resurrection from the ashes of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Despite its past, Japan never gave up the civil use of atomic power. The island of Japan may be the hotspot of atomic horror, but all of world history is filled with stories of nuclear madness. At the peak of the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis brought the world to the verge of nuclear war. In Chernobyl, young men were mercilessly exposed to deadly radioactivity. People were forced to leave their homes as governments wanted to test their atomic bombs. And the nuclear threat has never stopped. More and more dictators are demonstrating their nuclear power. A race into a dead end. Faster, further, higher, and deadlier. Nuclear Games. A web documentary and a journey through 8 decades of nuclear madness.
Because in Japan all the dangers of nuclear technology were experienced by the atomic bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and by the catastrophe in Fukushima 10 years ago, Japan is the starting point of our story. From there, we travel through time and history to discover 5 stories on 5 continents that demonstrate the dangers of nuclear technology. For the continent of America, for instance, we tell the story of a Russian submarine officer who prevented a nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Here we see the moment when the Russian commander prevented the firing of a nuclear torpedo and thus probably prevented the Third World War. Although at the moment the speech bubbles are in German, we will translate the entire web documentary into English and French. There's the cliffhanger. From the continent of Asia, we will tell the story how a dictator risks nuclear war and finds an American friend in the former US President Donald Trump. In Europe, we tell the story of Chernobyl and human roboters. Here we tell the tragic story of how young people were mercilessly exposed to nuclear radiation. From the continent of Africa, we tell from Niger about the uprising in an uranium mine. We tell how Tuaregs resisted the inhumane conditions in the mines. And finally, from the fifth continent, we tell the story of the Bikini Atoll and atomic bomb testing. How a king in the Pacific let himself be tricked by the US Army and sacrificed his island to radioactivity. These are not actual movies because users are clicking on their pace through these individual sequences. But we don't just tell stories, we put them into a context. In something what we call a knowledge base, we offer additional clips, interactive graphic, and in-depth texts. So here is an example of a video clip in which we explain the background of the nuclear testing in North Korea. Here is an example of an interactive graphic to demonstrate who has done how many tests. In this way, we offer our audience an exploration to statistical data or scientific topics. And finally, we have commissioned the renowned Swiss author Michael Fischer to write in-depth texts on individual topics, as you can see here. We were able to finance a budget of around $500,000 because many people, including Swiss television, believe in the relevance of this story. Here's the timeline. Beginning in late spring, we will begin launching a social media campaign. The main phase of the launch will be during the Olympic Games at the end of July. Before that, Swiss television will also broadcast content from our web documentary, but our goal is to attract other media as well. Our preferred online partners would be, of course, the New York Times, for instance, or The Guardian. But we really depend on every support to spread the content. Therefore, please spread the word about our project, and I ask you to register on our landing page so that we can keep you up to date with a newsletter so that you can spread info about our project through your personal network. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and you will be part of our digital story Nuclear Games. Thank you very much.